Good afternoon. After a wonderful weekend for Thanksgiving, we're back in the grind today. Haven't been able to get people on the phone, and that's fine because it's allowed me to do some writing. The most important thing was that today was Holly's birthday, and we celebrated that because this has been a special year for us, as most of you realize. There are three things that caught my attention. One is offshore. One is in the electoral pits, if you will. And the third is the rights that people enjoy that are being encumbered and compromised. So let's start with the first one. The United States respects a citizen's right to be free of extradition, but not in all cases. And they exercise some discretion and judgment to do that. Many years ago, I represented an agent in the State Department, and he was involved in a difficult situation in which he was attacked. And I think that was a fair account by all standards. And he defended himself with deathly force. And if they had removed the person that he shot faster, the person probably would have survived. But that's not what happened. And there was an effort, actually, to break into the jail where he spent the first night or so before the embassy removed him. And it turned out that military officials were tied to that person who died. Okay, the United States had to consider whether or not to send him back to that foreign nation state in South America. And ultimately, they decided not to do so. So, why do I tell you that? Because we have a difficult case, I think, playing out publicly. Forgive me if I get her name wrong, but I think it's Shanquella Robinson, 25, from North Carolina. And she went down to Cabo, Mexico, for a vacation. But something went wrong while she was there. She was hurt in some fashion that caused the friends she came with, as far as we know they were friends, and they claimed that she had alcohol poisoning, but they wouldn't take her to the hospital. Now, later on, she was examined, and it turned out that she was deceased, and she had injuries to her neck and to her spine, suggesting traumatic injury. And then a social media video was found, and her dad put it online because he wanted to be sure something would happen. The ladies who were with her came back to the States, and Mexico followed up with extradition requests to examine them and to decide whether or not they should be prosecuted. The United States hasn't decided whether to prosecute them or not. It's a very interesting question, and it raises the irony of if people from our country go to Mexico and create violence, what is our obligation to Mexico to cooperate with a request for extradition? And I think the answer may be, if you're going to do the just thing, given statements like Trump in the past, that we should, perhaps with their agreement, investigate it to decide what we think of it. But there may be a protocol in which we have to be invited because we can't exactly go down there and investigate it without some approval. So, international relations and misconduct by people traveling to places where they should be vacation spots. In the end, if these people committed the crime and they go without prosecution, that would be a failure of international relations, in my opinion. Now, the next thing has to do with elections. And we are familiar with Arizona and some of the characters out there who are challenging whether or not they rightly lost. Well, this is a gang of losers, these people. And there's no question that they lost. So they're looking for ways to claim, oh, the printers weren't working, and one of the precincts, and They just think that, you know, they really won. Well, the only way these losers can win is if they claim that they lost because somebody cheated them. And I'm hoping in the days ahead, two things will happen. One is that the information that we have so far suggesting this is nonsense goes away. But then the second thing is that these people are prosecuted for abusing our electoral system and suggesting and misleading the nation, the state itself, and the people generally, that there's something wrong with an election when there's nothing wrong with it at all. And you know, this goes back. Think about it. The electors in the end of 2016 into early 2017, the bogus electors still haven't been prosecuted. And so now we're getting another offense that we haven't done anything about. And we must act upon this offense. We cannot let it go because our nation just doesn't pay attention to offenses and then hold the people accountable for doing it. So we encourage them to do more of the same. And finally, in terms of the rights of individuals, going back to, you know, let's look at the Roe v. Wade decision. After that, Alito, nobody knows who leaked it, although now we find out Alito had leaked earlier decision. The problem we have is Thomas has said things like, well, you know, we don't know about marriage. We don't know about the same-sex marriage. We'll be revisiting that. Well, this gang of politicians playing to the stand, fulfilling the contract they made when they were elevated, if you will, if you can elevate such people to the Supreme Court. And they're threatening to compromise other rights and liberties enjoyed for an extended period of time, no matter the pain and suffering they may cause by doing this. We cannot have that in America. And so we have in the Senate a Respect for Marriage Act. And it looks like we're very close and can pass it. And it's going to come up this week. And it would be very good for two reasons to have this passed. One, it would show we could govern and we could respect those who were in a marriage, same-sex or otherwise. And in such a vote, in a bipartisan vote, because it's a cloture vote, meaning the cloture has been invoked, and you need 60 votes in order to pass this legislation. And the fact that it's possible says something about governing going forward, and governing going forward about individual rights and liberties. So we have three things kicking around. One is, what do we do about citizens to go to other nation states and commit crimes there and then come back here and claim asylum? Pretty ironic, don't you think? What do we do about people who claim our elections are fraud when they're not? We can't just let them say that and not do something. So, okay, yes, you make your complaint, we research it, we find out that you're lying, we make you pay for that. If you made a false statement, then you're prosecuted for it. If you obstructed the workings of government by delaying an outcome until it caused even more legal problems about the functioning and progress of government, you pay for that. And then finally, when we have public officials who are prepared to remain silent rather than have respect for the Respect for Marriage Act, and to allow for all manner of marriages that have been improved over the years so that people can celebrate their family and their love and their acceptance in the community by the law of the land. So that's I think where we stand. And here I am in my cathedral of trees, and I hope to see you again tomorrow. Bye-bye.